Welcome to Compulite Vibe. Now you should have a good number of presets for your fixtures. Let's use them to create scenes and sequences. Select a group and edit some parameters by using the libraries. Then move to Playback page and store directly into a controller. In System Settings, you can choose if default store command to a playback is creating a scene or a queue. If Clear Editor after store is not active, press Reset to clear the editor manually, or Shift and Reset to clear also the fixture section. Otherwise, the parameters will be kept active in the editor, and because the editor has highest priority, the playback controllers won't be able to move them. After editing fixtures parameters, tap Store and then Scene Softkey, or use the syntax Scene Number Store. Then write the scene's name on the keyboard. A scene is a one-step memory that can be added to a playback. By default, every parameter level that was selected in the editor is stored. You can change this by tapping Store Options, maybe to store all the stage look or just the active parameters. If library presets are used, the scene keeps that reference. So if you use the same library in several scenes, just update the library to apply the changes to every scene that contains it. Press the Edit button to load the scene in the editor and make any update. Press the Delete button to remove the scene. While the scenes have just parameters level, fade and delay in dates, the cues contain more time information to build a sequence. A sequence of cues is called a cue list. You can both create a cue by programming the editor or by importing a scene in the editor with the Edit button. Select a group and tap a red color preset. Stored cues keep library reference too. As the cue belongs to a cue list, you have to specify that in the storing syntax, QList21 and Q1 store, then use the keyboard to name the cue, red. Press text and the QList softkey to rename the cue list, colors. Now let's add the dimmer intensity to QList21. Group Full Update. The Update pop-up window is very flexible. Cues and libraries that can be updated are automatically filtered. The source filter allows to add the master or the last used controllers. Decide about tracking options and values to store. Now go to the playback page to assign the cue list and scenes to a virtual slider. Tap the softkey to select the content and any button to load it. The playback shows the cue list name and the current active cue. Press Select and a Controllers button to choose the master playback. It will show a blue background. If you store a cue without defining the cue list, the cue will be stored in the cue list assigned to the master playback. For example, with cue list number 21 on the master playback, press Q and the command line automatically shows cue list 21. Now let's program a simple sequence of cues on the master playback. Group color green Q2 store green. Color blue Q3 store blue. Cue list 21 is now a sequence of 3 cues. In this sample, it triggers just a color change, but remember that cue lists can store any parameter inside the cues. Cues are numbered from 1 to 1000. But it's possible to insert hundreds of other cues in between by storing cues with minor numbers from the 1.001 to the 1.999. Select the cue and press the Time button. The pop-up window has a virtual wheel to set the fade time. Enable the wheel to scroll seconds, minutes, or hours. Choose on the right the target time field between in and out fade, in and out delay, look ahead, wait, and follow times. Set the preferred cue list and cue behavior in the default settings. Access a specific cue settings by tapping on the controller's left side. Use all these fields to link the cue to another, loop a part of the sequence, renumber cues, edit timing properties, rename and add notes on the cue sheet. To change other cues settings, select them from the cue lists and cues on the left side. On this window, it's possible to edit several cues at once. Access a single cue list settings by tapping on the controller's top side. Set the name, the cue list direction, backward or forward, and if it's tracking the values. Manage the playback preferences on the Go behavior. There is a short text explanation for every option. Use the virtual wheel to set the release time. You can apply the settings to the current playback or save them into the cue list, so it will keep them on every controller assignment. With the Cue List mode option, cue lists can be easily transformed into chasers. Open the Chase Properties tab to set the order of cues, the rate, the intensity limit, the loop count, and the crossfade time. The playback of a cue list follows the assigned times, while the playback of a chaser is automatic. Tap Go on the controller and see the sequence fading continuously from one step or cue to the next one. Now boost your creativity to build scenes, cue lists, and chasers. Keep following us to discover more on the next tutorials.